What's up, Pack Nation? It is Pack here. In today's video, I'm doing another tier list, and this one is of every single 2K ever for the most part. I'll explain why in a second. Before this video starts, if you're one of the 57% of viewers who watch these videos and is not subscribed, don't be lame, be an OG, join the Pack Nation, and subscribe. Here we are in a tier list maker. I have every single 2K from NBA 2K6 to NBA 2K20 in a tier list format from S to F. Now, let me clarify something. I don't have NBA 2K from NBA 2K5 because, first of all, I've never played any of those games, so I'm not going to act like I know anything about them. And second, they're all kind of the same game for the most part. A lot of them were for the Dreamcast. I'm not saying they're bad games at all, but when it comes to tier list, I feel like there wasn't enough there to really talk about them, at least from my understanding. So we're gonna start with NBA 2K6 all the way to NBA 2K20. The first one I want to talk about is NBA 2K6. This is the baseline of all 2Ks. I think this is the first one of the new generation from the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. I'm going to put this one at B because it was a solid game at the time. Graphically, it was much improved. There was no really problems with it at all. My career was fun. All that stuff was a good time. There was no VC at the time. It was a good game. No problems with it at all. But NBA 2K7 is going to be in the D tier because it was the exact same game from NBA 2K6. They changed nothing from it at all. It was like basically a copy and paste straight up. Graphically, it was somehow even worse. Like, here's a screenshot of Kobe. I was going to put it at C, but ever since I saw that screenshot of Kobe, I'm putting this at D. That was straight cheeks. But then we get into the innovation of 2K is NBA 2K8. The biggest thing that was known about this one is that Chris Paul was broken in this 2K. Like, he was hitting everything and it wasn't even close. Not only that, they upgraded the NBA 2K logo to the one that we know of today. It was basically the change of 2K forever. Not only that, they added dunk contest and three-point contest or three-point shootout in blacktop in the game. So now you could pick any player you wanted. You could get Julius Erving versus Kobe and all of a sudden do a dunk contest in the playground. You literally can't even do that now. Like, you can only do that back in 2K8. It was fun. It was a really cool like street dynamic to it. There was an announcer. It made the game really fun. You could also make your own characters and do it, or make your own players and do it in the playground or blacktop, whatever it was called. You can't even do that now. Like, that's such a big innovation, of one that they've never even looked back to for some reason. It's ridiculous. There was no VC at the time too. It was a good game. So good that I'll put it at A because it was genuinely solid. I'm actually going to put it down to B because there's actually a lot of games in A, so I'm going to put it down to B because I don't want to stack it, and I think other games in A are much better than this one, so I'll get back to that. Speaking of which, NBA 2K9. Now, I considered it as good as NBA 2K8, but I think NBA 2K9 was a little bit better. Now, the first problem with it is that there was no online play at all, for this game. Now, I know you're thinking, well, this is a waste of a game. No play now, no park, no nothing. Are you kidding me? All there was regular game modes without online play. What was the point of it, especially in the new generation? The thing is, this game was $20. Boom, immediate A tier. How do you not put it in A tier? The game was $20. Imagine if they released 2K21 for $20. Oh my gosh, everyone would buy it. For the first time ever, 2K was priced correctly. That's all I'm saying. A $20 game, brand new, basically just a little bit updated from the year before. No online features, but still a fun game no matter what. Had all the blacktop versions and the dunk contest and three-point shootouts and play now, not online but play now. My League, all that stuff they had, and it was $20. It was the perfect game at the time, and it was a fun one. Now, NBA 2K10. Now, here's the one that's kind of tough to talk about. I was gonna put this one at A. NBA 2K10 was the first 2K I actually ever played in my life. I remember going to a party at a friend's house, and I went upstairs and a bunch of people were playing 2K and it was 2K10 and I was like, what? What's going on? And that changed everything. I wouldn't have this channel today if I never experienced that moment. So this one has a special place in my heart, but it's more than just that. It's more, I think I was gonna put it at A tier, but it deserves more than that. Let me explain. NBA 2K10 started everything. This is the game that actually killed NBA Live. After this year, there was not another NBA Live 14, so NBA 2K10 literally killed NBA Live off. This was the first time they introduced the blacktop online, which was basically park at the time. This was the first time that was ever introduced, which again changes 2K forever. And then this is the first game that Chris Smoove ever did a My Career series on. That changed 2K YouTube forever. This is the most probably important 2K in 2K history, I'd argue. And that's why I'm going to put it at S. I know most people put it at maybe A or B, and that cover was sick. It's such a legendary cover. I think it has to be S tier no matter what. I think everybody owned this game. And another game in S tier and in front of 2K10 is going to be NBA 2K11. We all know this as the 2K that's probably the greatest 2K of all time. It added Michael Jordan for the first time ever, which was like a big deal. It had the Create a Legend game mode that everybody loved and is begging for 2K to return. It also invented ISO dribbles for the first time ever, which, as you know, dribble gods are obsessed with doing that in this game, and that was the beginning of that. Not only that, it was the only simulation basketball game out there. I think that's the biggest reason why it was so successful. NBA Live had died after NBA 2K10 and NBA Live 10. It stopped because it was getting bodied, and NBA 2K11 was the only basketball simulation game out there, and it ran the floor and everybody bought it, and it was probably the most owned basketball game of all time. The same cannot be said with NBA 2K12. Now, I'm considering putting this one at B, but I'm actually going to put it at C. It was not only a copy and paste of 11, it removed a lot of the things that made it so great. They also removed the Blacktop Park game mode that they invented and that was popping. They removed it for no reason. Like, why would you do that? And it just didn't do as good. It was such a big downgrade from the year before that I didn't understand what the mindset was. It still was a fine game. It was the only 2K game out there, or the only basketball game out there, so it was still like bought and played, but it just wasn't as good as NBA 2K11. It just wasn't. Now, NBA 2K13. Now, this one I need to talk about a little bit. This one is pretty controversial. Some people like it, some people don't. This was the last one of the last generation. I think this was like when they maximized as much as they could from that generation into a 2K game. I actually liked it a lot. The biggest thing that this game brought is the start of 3v3 online blacktop. Like, this was the first time that they had 3v3. They had a ranking system, like rep and everything. Like, this was the first time that ever happened, and that made the game that much more popular. Just because of that alone, it deserves to be 18. And then 14 just adds on to that. It has all those things, but it was the first one of the new generation. This is, I think, nostalgia-wise, this is my favorite 2K ever. I jumped into this 2K thinking about wanting to do YouTube at the time. The graphics at the time, I remember when they released that LeBron James screenshot of NBA 2K14, I was like, wait, this is possible? These graphics are insane. And it just brought a whole new level. It has to be A tier. It was so fun at the time. NBA Live tried to compete with it at the time, and this is the official game that straight up killed NBA Live, because NBA Live tried to return and it wasn't even close to as good as 2K, and it solidified 2K as the greatest basketball simulation game out there for sure. And it had Park for the first time ever, which everybody loved. I mean, it was official Park. It was great. Next one is 2K15. Another one that's pretty controversial. It wasn't as good as 14. The graphics were basically the same. They did introduce affiliations, which was pretty cool in my opinion, but geez, the servers are so bad in 15. Like, it wasn't even like everything was choppy. It was impossible to load into games. Not only that, games in Park were played from 1 to 2s. So I mean, games in 21 took forever. So you waited forever to play a game. And there was the introduction to the stage. So it was an absolutely decent game. That's why I'm gonna have it at C, as a decent game. Now, it is NBA 2K16, another game that some people consider the greatest 2K game of all time. Now, obviously, I'm going to put this one at S tier. It had the legendary My Career story of the Spike Lee story, which everybody loved so much. It introduced tattoos to the game, which some people liked, and obviously a lot of people were begging for anyways. It added Pro-Am. It probably had the best Park ever. I think in terms of Park, 16 probably had it the best ever. Definitely no complaints from me. This is arguably the best game ever in 2K history. NBA 2K17 is when the
downward spiral of 2K began.
I'm going to put this one at S tier for a lot of reasons. First, they somehow got worse from 2K16. They didn't improve from that year. They introduced the legend system, like the rep system. They already had rep, but you now added legend. And it took 10,000 Park games to become a legend. That was impossible at the time. It was the exact same Park as the year before. Like, why would you not upgrade the Park? They added Park After Dark, and that was terrible if you remember. Overall, it's just a way worse experience in 2K16. That was the beginning of killing the game. And 2K18, as we all know, let me just immediately put it right there. That game was trash. First of all, they couldn't even get the cover right. It was Kyrie Irving with the Cleveland Cavaliers jersey, and then they changed to the Boston one because he left before the game came out, and all of a sudden it confused the cover art. And then the biggest problem about this was the VC system. The VC system was terrible. I have never seen a more greedy company be that greedy before. It was embarrassing. If you wanted any clothes, haircuts, changes, everything costed an over ridiculous price of VC. It was shameful. And again, this was the peak of terribleness of 2K. But they introduced a neighborhood, which I liked at the time. It was too big and it took forever to get to the park. But at the time, I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. That was it though. Well, everything you don't like about 18, 19 didn't do that much to change it. The neighborhood got changed to a little bit better, and I actually liked the neighborhood a lot at the time. That staircases needed to be removed though, but besides that, it was fine. But it was the same engine, same problems. VC wasn't as bad, but it still wasn't good. I'm gonna keep it right here at C because it was an overall okay game, but it could have been better for sure. But finally, NBA 2K20, where are we now? Are we better than 2K19? Are we worse? I'm gonna put 2K20 at D. The simple reason is they gave us the exact same neighborhood as last year, and it's the exact same game as last year. They really didn't introduce anything, and that's because they're setting up for the new generation, so I understand why they did what they did. But still, it wasn't as smooth of the transition as NBA 2K13 was to 14. NBA 2K20 has been pretty rough and just okay. The gameplay has been okay, I'll give it that. Like, it's not a bad game, but because they had it, they literally just improved from the year before. And that's nice and all. It's the same park. At least put a little bit of effort into a new park or something. And that's why I think this 2K has been so dry this year. But that's my tier list. What do you guys think? Leave it in the comments below. And if you like my channel, give it a sub. And I'll see you guys next time.